Morning, good evening, good afternoon. Zimbabwe is a failed state. That is a historic fact. How are we going to get out of this mess? That is an interesting question. As long as Zanu PF is able to rig the elections and get away with it, and let's face it, the last 44 years, the party has successfully rigged the elections and got away with it. We are in trouble. Since the late 1990s, the nation had come to the conclusion that we need an opposition that is going to implement the democratic reforms necessary to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. Morgan Tsvangirai and his friends came forward as the answer to that call. They even called their party the Movement for Democratic Change. The tragedy is they themselves, Morgan Tsvangirai and company, did not really understand what those democratic changes were. And worse still, the few, if there were any at all, who did understand it, they were easily bribed by Mugabe and Zanu PF friends. And they quickly forgot about the reforms. We cannot deny that MDC leaders had the golden opportunity to implement the reforms, and they failed to do so. And ever since the GNU debacle of 2008 to 2013, MDC, CCC leaders have participated in flawed elections to give Zanu PF legitimacy in return for a few gravy train seats. This is why 24 years since the formation of the MDC, Zanu PF is still able to blatantly rig the elections and get away with it. I have often referred to this quotation from David Coltart, one of the MDC leaders, admitting that elections in Zimbabwe has become so flawed, so illegal, that it really doesn't make any sense at all to keep participating. And after 24 years of MDC CCC, one would think that the penny has dropped in the heads of some of our own ordinary Zimbabweans. On the screen, I have a dialogue that has been going on with some of the members of the public. The essence of the reply here is that I, as an individual, have done nothing. And I have not even voted during the elections. I'm just an armchair critic. In other ways, the individual is still glorifying participating in these elections. He still does not understand the premise that if the election process is so flawed, so illegal, that the logical step is to withdraw. Participating then is the most idiotic thing you could do. And yet here we are. One of the things that is really amazing in Zimbabwe is how people like this individual refuse to see reality. One of the biggest issues that I've been having in this particular group and in other platforms as well, is just convincing them that Chamisa lied during last year, lied about plugging the vote rigging loopholes to con people to participate in those flawed elections out of greed. Before the elections itself, the individuals were adamant that no, he has plugged them, he knows what he's doing, etc. Said, no, this is not the first time he said it. Look at 2018. He said the same thing. MDC alliances stringent measures to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. He was lying. He didn't have any measures to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. As we know, the elections were rigged. And he's just saying it again here. He's even invoking the name of God. I've plugged all the vote rigging loopholes. Hashtag God is in it. And yet he was lying. What is disappointing is that some people still refuse to accept it. So we went into the elections. And they went confident that Chamisa had plugged all the vote rigging loopholes, and Triple C was going to win big. But as we know, Chamisa and Triple C did not win big. Zanu PF blatantly rigged those elections. And what has been disappointing is that while some of these people accept that the elections were rigged, they are refusing to accept that Chamisa had lied to them about plugging all the vote rigging loopholes. It's a contradiction. We can't have it both ways. And yet, there we are. Here is Chamisa telling the people about winning the 2023 election.
Makorokoto Zimbabwe nokuti hakuna munhu anomira kana denga raronga plan. Denga raronga plan, denga harifoiri. Plan yaMwari haifoiri. Ini ndatanga kugadzira cabinet. There is no way we are not going to form a new cabinet. There is no way we are not going to have a celebration. There is no way we are not going to have an inauguration. Let's start preparing for our inauguration. Let's start preparing for our celebration.
Of course, he was lying. He was even invoking the name of God, and it turned out to be a lie. Here is the one occasion where at least the BBC reporter took Chamisa to task on these issues of lying.
Ende patakasangana na Trump akatibvunza navakomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
Serious questions were raised about your behaviour in Washington, D.C. You did see some senior people on Capitol Hill, some Congress people, but you also claimed that you'd seen Donald Trump. You claimed you had a conversation with him in which you said he asked you how much you needed to move the country forward. You told him $15 billion, and he said to you that he would provide the money if you won the election. That was not true, was it?
Sangana na Trump akatibvunza naye akomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
It was not true that you'd seen Donald Trump and that Donald Trump indicated to you that he would provide, if you won the election,
But
$15 billion.
All those statements were said by other people, not what I said.
Akasangana na Trump akatibvunza naye akomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
Well, no, because there is a video which shows you at a rally in January back home in Zimbabwe saying that Donald Trump had pretty much promised you $15 billion. To be clear, because some people in Zimbabwe are still confused, you're now telling me you did not meet Donald Trump.
We did not.
Of course he did not. But of course he also lied when he came back to Zimbabwe. There is the video evidence. And yet some people still refuse to accept that Chamisa is corrupt, incompetent, and a liar. This is the tragic reality of Zimbabwe. The American President Abraham Lincoln said you can fool all the people some of the time, and some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. I think in Zimbabwe we will have to rewrite that quote. We have got so many millions of ignorant, naive, and gullible people that they are so easily fooled in their millions. We are talking here of fooling all the people all the time. In the case of Chamisa, is conning millions of people all the time. That is what we are dealing with here. And as a nation, we are in serious trouble. We cannot deny that we've got a problem. The gentleman whose quote I was referring to here is clearly going to participate in the 2028 elections. If Chamisa was to come to him and say to him, yes, we are going to win big. I've devised ways of winning rigged elections. That is an idiotic, oxymoronic lie. It's an oxymoron in the sense that it contradicts itself. Talking of winning rigged elections. After 44 years of rigged elections, we're still talking of winning rigged elections, particularly when we have got the evidence we have of how Zanu PF blatantly rigs these elections. It is impossible to win those elections. And in any case, why are we fighting to win rigged elections? Shouldn't we be fighting to restore the rule of law, to restore the rights of every citizen out there to have meaningful say in the governance of the country through free, fair, and credible elections? The picture I had posted, which was part of the reason why of this conversation, as you can see there, in the background is a fire. This was a picture of the rioting in Mozambique. The elections of October were not free, fair, and credible. And Mozambique, like Zimbabwe, has had the misfortune of having disputed elections. We are still looking at a situation here where 44 years after independence, and we're still having rigged elections. We can't agree on what constitutes free, fair, and credible elections and make sure that we have free, fair, and credible elections. That, to me, is truly tragic. How is it possible that we have let ourselves down so much? But the truth of the matter is we have. As you can see from this gentleman, to him, the greatest virtue is voting. And I don't think it will be a day's work from Chamisa to con the individual and millions of others like him to participate in 2028 without even one token reform implemented. And after participating, they'll give Zanu PF legitimacy. And we are back to where we are today. That is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. That people can be so easily conned into believing an idiotic and oxymoronic lie like winning rigged elections. Thank you very much for those who were able to join. I hope you'll be able to join us again. Normally we have the program on 6 o'clock UK time or 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. Before I close, I'll just show one comment here from Tina. Welcome to the program. Tina is asking, does the person know that the oppressive government does not allow us to vote when we are abroad? Well, that is another problem. At the present moment, there is the diaspora vote. And one of the reasons why actually Zanu PF will never allow diaspora vote is very simple. That while in the rural areas, Zanu PF is able to intimidate the electorate, I think intimidating people in the diaspora will be very difficult. That's number one. Number two, rigging the vote once it's cast will also be equally difficult. It will not be as easy as rigging the vote in the rural setting, for instance. So I think the diaspora vote is another contentious issue. But in this particular case, even those in the diaspora, as long as the electoral process is so flawed, so illegal, that you cannot win those elections, I think people should focus on getting the reforms implemented so that they are free, fair, and credible elections. We should be very careful. This belief in the opposition that they can win rigged elections, like I say, it is an idiotic oxymoron. Because if you participate claiming that you are going to win rigged elections, if the elections are rigged and you lost, you cannot complain again that the elections were rigged because you knew when you went in that the elections were being rigged. I think after 44 years of rigged elections, let's just concentrate on getting the reforms implemented to ensure we've got free, fair, and credible elections. That is not asking for too much. And in any case, even if the opposition was to win these rigged elections, do you also realize that if the system has not been reformed, the chances are the incoming government would exploit those weaknesses and would in turn rig the elections. So this cycle of rigged elections will never go away until we implement the reforms. So in my humble opinion, particularly after 44 years of rigged elections, is that let's just get on with it and focus on implementing the democratic reforms so that we have free, fair, and credible elections once and once for all. Thank you very much, those of you who were able to join. I hope you'll be able to join us again, 6 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. Tomorrow, and we'll probably take a break for Christmas Day itself. And we'll see you on the 27th. So Christmas and Boxing Day, we take days off. Thank you very much again for joining me. Have a good night.